Justice and healing, honorables. Give thanks. The 13th decade in the life of Kadamawi Haile Selassie I. I just want once to overstand, this is the culmination of an intention, words blocked, spoken, materialized into life, brought forth by a vision of collective security from brothers who came together at Mount Kailash last June. And the prophetic words of establishing a secretariat, hosting the 130th celebration or the 13th decade in the life of Haile Selassie I, calling for justice and healing for ourselves, our family, Caribbean family, certainly our personal families, but extending that justice and healing to all deserving people. This moment, 11 days from this moment, we will have a culmination of that energy. We will have the celebrations in Mount Kailash. We'll have additional celebrations across St. Lucia, where we call ourselves to account for justice, for healing, and for the restoration of our humanity. And within that reality also, those who would stand in the way of our justice and healing will face the judgment that is inevitable for those in that position, opposing goodness. So I just want to share with ones that it's a 28 days of Nyabinghi initiative. And as we see our humanity facing these multiple challenges that includes wars and the displacement of people and coercive or measures of force used to undermine individual and collective sovereignty, the lacking or the diminishing of our freeness, our ability to be free and to act freely. And then seductions that comes from technical advancements through whether it's TV or phones or whatever. African people all over are battling for the respect of their bodies and their minds. This is the moment that we are living in. And as people are looking for recent solutions in their historic past, they find nothing. They find nothing that speaks to their reality. And so we are there to find the solutions. Haile Selassie I has offered a solution himself. He says, first we must look to the Almighty in the depths of ourselves, our own spirituality. We must look to that and to become members of a new race with a singular allegiance. And that is to good people across our human family. And that is what this initiative is about. And this is the mission of Jaja and I. Even as we celebrate the 13th decade in the life of Haile Selassie I, since his physical existence, our Secretariat is calling on all righteous people to come and gather with us. And especially our family right here in St. Lucia, the Rastafari family, whether you're Bobo Shanti and Nyabinghi or non-aligned. And all good people, whether you're Catholic, Seventh-day, Anglican, Church of God, Pentecostal, come and join. As the Irit says, come, join with us. As I and I seek justice and healing for the family. So we're welcoming ones. Starting on July the 22nd, the Sabbath Eve, we will join together and we will start the call to restore ourselves, unto our history, unto our posterity, past, present, but more so to be in the present, looking forward to the future. So that is what we will start, and we'll have a host of people with us from across multiple spaces, including the Caribbean, North America, and Europe. But it's the family we're calling, because I and I seek justice, and I seek healing. So, we're welcoming all who seek to come. And we want ones to understand the goals of the initiative is really to organize and centralize the administrative work and the structures for facilitating justice and healing of our minds, African people's minds, and our bodies, African people's bodies, and our economics, African people economics, because these are the things that are lacking in our current situation. We have no free will, and we feel trapped in these structures that governs us. And so even as we look at emancipation and the month celebrating emancipation, and I have to say, as emancipated beings, as liberated people, are we acting in our own interest, or are we still in a shackle, mental, physical, or otherwise, that undermines our free will and our ability to express our fullest potential? And so this is what we're seeing. The Secretariat will serve as a model of administrative competence, transparency, and accountability. And I will change the narrative of black victimhood, where we're talking about our hands up, don't shoot, and all these kinds of things. And we look at the reality of African victors facing those who victimized us, including members of our own family, and offering them forgiveness or the judgment, especially if they fail to come in compliance with those things which are just demands. And finally, I will present a package of economic demands to those in our region, and especially here in this beautiful island of St. Lucia. We will let them see what is just and fair, and have clarity as to what it is Rastafari and good African people can do on our own without the disturbance of systemic atrocities and abuses. And then we'll be happy to share with the entire family the goodness and the virtues of the things that we have developed for the goodness of humanity, for the benefit of humanity. This is the mission. This is the mission of good people, and Rastafari lead in that regard in this moment. So I want all to join I, as I seek to do good, as Rastafari is only about goodness. So, full joy the chance with I, as I seek to bring forward justice and healing. Rastafari. Yeah, man. Haile Selassie the First. Yes, we have been having a little technical difficulty, so I hope you're able to see and hear especially the chant of the Nyabingi, even from members of our Baba Shanti family. Give thanks, my lords and empresses, and Rastafari people everywhere. Blessed love. Yeah, man, it is certainly I will that goodness prevails. And I just want ones to understand that even as we face technical challenges, because we're having some studio challenges right now, that's why we came on a little late. And I cannot tell if I am being heard, if I'm being seen, because I'm not getting feed right now, but I am going to continue the conversation and to let our people know that we have a special guest who will join us very shortly, who will talk a bit about the Jajana Initiative, and also a book that was produced for the Jajana Initiative, coming out of one of the beautiful retreats at Mount Kailash Rejuvenation Center. And that book is called The Rising of the Gods. But before we go into the Rising of the Gods, I must talk about the challenges that face our people. The challenges that face African people in St. Lucia, in the region, the Eastern Caribbean, and the Caribbean overall, and certainly across North America, Europe, and even on the continent of Africa. What faces us primarily is a lack of self-knowledge. We don't know anything or sufficient about ourselves. So we come and we see one generation, or mother or father, maybe a grandfather, grandmother, and that is it. We don't know the connections that we have to greatness, the connections we have to the development of the world, the contributions that we have made to those developments. And so our young people, they are like ships without any steering. They have no focal point. They have nothing to connect them. They have no anchor to root them and keep them stable. And so that is one of the things we're calling for, to restore, so that we can bring the information that is critical to our young people in the schools, in the churches, in the community centers. Because where we have the information, we're not going to sit on it. This is why we established the Jaja and I bookstore, whereas it is an African-centered bookstore that sells books and also gives a library of multiple collections of books that speaks of our history, of our talents, our giving to humanity. And so, we're welcoming ones to come into that space, because we want to increase the knowledge about ourselves so that we can act in our capacity and based on our capabilities. So there's also a lack of spiritual and economic balance. So we're either running after money or we're running down church and God. Remember, the Almighty is within us. You're born with the gift of God, with the presence of God. Yes? And we don't have to run only after money. We need a balance so that we can do all the things that we've been placed here to do. Yes? And we can build a bright, beautiful, new creation. We can get rid of the old challenges, and move toward the next and the new. So, we need to maintain or to create that balance in our lives. And that is partly what we're going to do in those 28 days of Nyabinghi focus and celebration. Because on the one hand, I certainly will have spiritual rituals. On the other hand, we're going to sit down and talk about how we engage economics. We're going to lay forward a plan. And then we're going to fund that plan ourselves. We're not going to sit down and wait on governments or private industry or anyone. We are going to activate I. Because if it is to be, it must be Ubuntu. I am because you are, and because you are, I am. So it's that connection that we are going to make sure that we have. In the economic forum, we're going to look at shipping, how we ship and secure our food within the region, certainly within St. Lucia, and how we make sure that we can survive in the event that someone decides to lock the world down again. Because that's already happened. It's not like we can say these things haven't happened. Also, one of the challenges that face young people that we're going to address is the ignorance of the resources that we have and that we represent. Yes? So we are great beings, very great beings. But we do not know all the things that we possess. And because we don't know what we possess, we're challenged. We're challenged with that overstanding. And so how do you represent yourself when you don't even know all the resources that you have? It's like you have $1 million and you're walking around like you're a broke man or woman. Yes? It's like you have a car and you're walking up and down. It's like you have an airplane and you want to do what? It's like you don't know your full capacity. And so we now become so dependent on other people to assist us in doing the things that we need to do for ourselves. Yes? So we're no longer going to make those things the focal point. We are going to claim the knowledge that we need. We're going to claim the responsibility of taking care of ourselves and our families. And there's also a lack of good community and civic leadership. Now listen, we're not going to knock individuals now, but people in families, in communities, they overstand where there's a lack of leadership. And the best measurement to tell whether or not leadership is lacking is we look in our families and we look at what is happening with our young people. If our young people feel secured in what their mother and father is laying forward as a legacy for them, then they believe they have good leadership. And we can extend from mother and father and talk about politicians, talk about church leaders, talk about civic leaders. And if people in our communities, whether our community is a church community, is a school community, or just within the regular residential communities we live, and we see bright futures ahead of us, then we know we have good leadership. But we have had so much frustration just talking to the youth them on the street. We know they're frustrated. So we're going to address those things. And because those youths are frustrated, they don't have the mechanism to resolve conflict amicably, peacefully. They don't talk things out. They want to get in violence. And, you see the statistics. Some of it proves itself. It tells you what is happening in our communities. Lack of good community leadership and civic leadership leads to poor conflict resolutions among our young people. And including in the lack of good leadership is the lack of transparent, competent, and responsive systems of accountability. So no one is accountable to anyone, including I in the family. So we have to address these things. And those are some of the focal points of our 28 days of justice and healing. It's important, family. I want us to understand that, because the talking is over now and it's time to be active. We're going to activate. But before we do that, let I take a brief moment, just to pay some bills and get forward. I think my guest, my honorable guest, our beloved Prophet Akeem, will be joining I very shortly. And so we give thanks. We're going to take a moment. Well, actually, my good producer said don't take no moment, you're on a roll, so just keep rolling. So I'm going to keep rolling because that's one thing we know what to do. Part of the rolling, though, speaks to how our people rise themselves up, how we lift ourselves. Yeah? How do we become better than we have been, greater in outlook? How we overcome the challenges of incapacity or incapabilities that has been dished out to us. People tell us, boy, you can't, it's peer, can't. So up with that. How do I overcome that and rise ourselves to our full potential, the full God potential, God-given potential that is already innate, born in us? So we're going to address those things. We're going to look at how we get forward to the level of building, as I did with the Sphinx and the pyramids and the great Olmec societies and the things that we have done historically. We have to get forward to that space. Because unless African righteous people comes together, the world cannot come together. Now look at that burden. That's a big responsibility, Recognizing that it is I who must come and step up to the plate of tolerance, to the plate of cooperation, to the plate of compromising with each other on things that make sense, and to get rid of dogmas and all different kind of attitude and mix up moods and all different kind of folly that we have been using to separate and segregate ourselves, whether it is based on religion and certain levels of cultural appropriations that we have either taken or adopted, and we just believe these things to be the only governing things for our lives. We have to rise ourselves above that and look at the next and the new. We can't keep living in the past. I think it's Robert Nesta Marley said that. We cannot keep living in the past. And this is why the Jaja and initiative have called for a justice and healing, because we go Sweep out the nastiness from under the rug, the things that have been stored under the rug, the atrocities against African people, Rastafari people, the atrocities against poor people who have been undermined by members of our own Caribbean families. And when we sweep out the rug, we're going to talk about how we do restorative justice to ourselves, how we buy into our own liberation, and how we engage that liberation in some meaningful way. In order to do that, to really get to that point, I have to understand how to rise ourselves. And I think this is one of the key issues that my beloved brother, Prophet Akeem, will address when he joins I. Prayerfully, he will join I. Otherwise, I'll just keep rolling. As I said, we're having some technical difficulties. Yes? But it's important, very important, to understand the process of lifting ourselves as divine beings, so that we now can execute or put into play the skills, the gifts that I have, those gifts of goodness. Yes? So let I then overstand ourselves, engage ourselves in the rising. And the book, there's a book, it's at priestkailash.com and richsoulfoods.com. I believe it. Those are order sites for the book, but it's called The Rising of the Gods. And it lays out a platform where I can take steps, 7 elementary steps that allows us to overstand ourselves, reconcile with ourselves. That means we heal ourselves. And then we keep moving to the next and to the new. So I'm just excited about the possibilities and the prospect of speaking with my beloved brother Akeem, who brought in teams. He has been doing it for several years now, bringing in teams of people into St. Lucia for retreats, rejuvenation things. Yes, so rejuvenation spaces at the Mount Kailash Rejuvenation Center. Brother Akeem has been bringing forward multiple ones. And it is at one of those retreats that a group of brothers came together. And we talked. Young people young like me and little younger than me, because I'm a young man, Yeah, but we came together and I could share my experiences. And young brothers could explain and express their own concerns. And then we could talk about the best practices that lifts ourselves outside of the muck and the mire that we've been placed in, and to accelerate the process of justice and healing. And all of this comes within the context of celebrating 130 years or 13 decades in the life of Kadamawa Haile Selassie I, and 13 and a half decades in the life of the Honorable Marcus Garvey, and of course allow us to reflect on the emancipation process that is at hand. So give thanks. We're going to take a little break and forward again some more reasoning and prayerfully with my beloved brother Akeem, Prophet Akeem. Blessed love family, give thanks.
Electricity powers our favorite appliances and devices. But leaving your devices on or even plugged in when not in use can waste energy. Wasted energy that runs up your bill. When not in use, switch off. unplug, save energy, and save your appliances and devices. It's the smart thing to do. Saving energy is what's smart.
L'année ça là, Bureau Statistics ka conducté sa nou ka kouye en anglais 2022 National Population and Housing Census. Nou ka visite ou ka ale kaya kay pou konte set lisi et puis amase lot informasyon.
This is my ID.
Okay.
I'm an enumerator.
Lese enumerators la vini, yo ka do bonjour et puis rezon ki yo vini visite ou.
The interview should take around 20 to 40 minutes.
Osi yo ka ni an chemise vert et puis census ka ekouye le chemise la. Yo ka ni an ID card ki di nou yo ekouye ley et puis kote yo ka travay. Nou ka mande ou pou koopere epi yo et puis bayo informasyon ki yo ka mande ou la. Informasyon bayo kay wete a confidence. Informasyon ba nou kay benefio et puis komi nou. An nou konte set lisi.
Electricity powers our favorite appliances and devices. But leaving your devices on or even plugged in when not in use can waste energy. Wasted energy that runs up your bill. When not in use, switch off, unplug, save energy, and save your appliances and devices. It's the smart thing to do. Saving energy is what's smart.
L'année ça là, Bureau Statistics ka conducté sa nou ka kouye en anglais 2022 National Population and Housing Census. Nou ka visite ou ka ale kaya kay pou konte set lisi et puis amase lot informasyon.
This is my ID.
Okay.
I'm an enumerator.
Lese enumerators la vini, yo ka do bonjour et puis rezon ki yo vini visite ou.
The interview should take around 20 to 40 minutes.
Osi yo ka ni an chemise vert et puis census ka ekouye le chemise la. Yo ka ni an ID card ki di nou yo ekouye ley et puis kote yo ka travay. Nou ka mande ou pou koopere epi yo et puis bayo informasyon ki yo ka mande ou la. Informasyon bayo kay wete a confidence. Informasyon ba nou kay benefio et puis komi nou. An nou konte set lisi.
And blessings and welcome again to the Jajanai Justice and Healing Judgment and Heaping Nyabingi Initiative. This is the Justice and Healing Forum on Calabash TV. I have in studio with me my beloved brother Akeem, Prophet Akeem. Blessed love, my brother. How are you doing?
Blessed love. I am blessed. How are you?
I'm well, man. Listen, we've been working through some technical difficulties, big time. I'm very surprised, but you know, it's a battlefield, so it's getting a little hot in terms of challenges. But the hotter the battle, as Rastaman say, the sweeter will be the victory. So I want to welcome you, my brother, to Jaja and I, or Justice and Healing, here on Calabash, and we want to touch a little bit on the rising of the gods. You know, I have a video right here I'd love to play. I was told it doesn't have sound, and I hope you'll be able to see it so that you could at least give some commentary as it plays. So if you can see it, let me know, my brother. Are you seeing it?
Yes.
Okay. So perhaps some commentary then. What is happening on that screen, my brother?
So right now, this is the rising of the gods, and there's so much going on here. We did so much impactful work in this short period of time, but we saw a clip with Prophet Jamar, Chronix, and Brother Riza. They took a trip to the neighborhoods in St. Lucia, and they went and talked, and they went and shared some love and some good energy. But this is, as you see, the honorable brother Riza and Yaya, or Hot Hands, he went up and went to go talk to the workers. But this is a experiential journey for the man to rise into their God self, right? So it's one thing for us to read it on books. It's one thing to talk about it online or watch videos. It's the next thing to be in this space. As you see, we're just there reasoning in the kitchen. Like we're just reasoning, and that's allowing the godliness to come out of us, to come up. And we're gonna also see in our brothers right there. We got Honorable Priest Kailash, we got Brother Reza and Hot Hands. And we get to see our brothers who are embodying that godliness, embodying that uniqueness, that gifts, that beauty that they have. So not only are we communicating, we get to hear them, but we get to see it, we get to feel it. And then beyond that, we're learning and experiencing to cook what's possible with this herbs and this food that is grown up on Mount Kailash. And we get to learn about the herb, we get to sip the teas, and we get to experience it firsthand, because when we're talking about Rising of the Gods, and this is evident in the book, we didn't just put principles and words, we put practices, we put different herbs that you could utilize that go with principles, we put different feasts that you could look at, we put different quotes that you could look at, that all is embodying. So this is an experience of rising into your godly nature. And it's being surrounded by that, even just being on Mount Kailash up in nature and being surrounded by just abundance. Like the fruits, everything here is like, it's the first time for a lot of us to see this. And what happens is when we think that this is a scarce world because of the city we live in, and then we come up to Mount Kailash and we get to see all the fruits growing there wild in abundance, it wakens something in us, and it helps us to realize that abundance is the natural state, and creation is the natural state. Like nature, Mother Earth is just creating. And this right here was a very transformative time where we were climbing up the pitons. So y'all definitely know in St. Lucia, but climbing up the pitons, the Gros Piton, we did that as a group, and it didn't matter the age. It didn't matter. We all committed to climbing the pitons, and whether you took a longer time or a shorter time, it's still, we committed, and everybody made it up there. And that was rising into the challenge, because it's not like Rising of the Gods is going to be just all peace, like justice and healing, right? Or judgment and heaping, right? So even in the Jaja and I, it's in there where it may not always be all peaceful. We may have to climb some hills, some obstacles, some challenges. And that is all symbol of what we do on the retreat. And all that is in the Rising of the Gods book. So when you look at the Rising of the Gods book, you're gonna see a little bit of each of the things we got to experience. You get a taste of the reasoning sessions that we had up on the mountain. You
Yes,
get a
my
taste.
brother. So
almost a
let me
taste of
ask
feast.
you a quick question, because I get to understand that there is 28 days worth of events that's taking place. In fact, not only is it my overstanding, it's part of my own job. But I know the book was established partly as a framework to complement the Jajanai Secretariat, and it has a black print of details on how young brothers and sisters and families can rise themselves up. So can I speak briefly on what is happening at the end of July and the book itself, and how that plays a role in the whole scheme of things as they develop?
Yes, definitely. So like you said, the Rising of the Gods book has the black print to it, to rising into your godly nature. So there's the different principles that will help allow us to awaken into that godliness. And there's the different foods, there's the different herbs that we could utilize. And this was created at the Rising of the Gods retreat. And back then in was it June of 2021, the first initial reasonings came forward about this initiative. And it's something that's really powerful, because the world needs to know. It's something that in the world right now, where you go, I'm in Canada, right? And biggest business right now is marijuana, cannabis, right? And also where I live in Vancouver, Canada, it's all about the natural foods. It's all about plant-based living and plant-based lifestyle and learning how to grow your own food and sustainability. And that is all things that Rastafari have been doing and embodying for all of these years. And they were getting persecuted for that. They were getting treated terribly in their respective countries for that. And this is something that the world needs to know. This is something that there must be that balance come forward, because all of the benefits of what the work that Rastafari put in is being reaped by so many people in the world right now. And it's only balanced if they understand the work that was put in, the ability to stay solid and stay firm on these principles that, as we're talking about the rising of the gods, it's principle.
I want you to take a break right there, my brother. I'm going to send a new link, but take a break and we come right forward. Give thanks.
L'année ça là, Bureau Statistics ka conducté sa nou ka kouye l'anglais 2022 National
Good morning.
Population and Housing Census.
Hi,
Nou
my
ka
name is
visite
Cynthia
ou
from
ka
the
ale
Census
kaya kay
Office.
pou konte set lisi epi amase lot informasyon.
This is my ID. I'm an enumerator.
Lese enumerators la vini, yo kay do bonjou, epi wezon ki yo vini visite ou.
The interview should take around 20 to 40 minutes.
Osi yo kay ni an chemise vert, epi census kay ekouyan le chemise la. Yo kay ni an ID card ki di no yo ekouyan ley epi kote yo ka travay. Nou kamade ou pou koopare epi yo epi bayo informasyon ki yo kamade ou la. Informasyon bayo kay wete an confidence. Informasyon ba nou kay benefye ou epi komi nou. An nou kote set lisi.
Electricity powers our favorite appliances and devices. But leaving your devices on or even plugged in when not in use can waste energy. Wasted energy that runs up your bill. When not in use, switch off, unplug, save energy, and save your appliances and devices. It's the smart thing to do. Saving energy is what's smart.
L'année ça là, Bureau Statistics ka conducté sa nou ka kouye l'anglais 2022 National
Good morning.
Population and Housing Census.
Hi,
Nou
my
ka
name is
visite
Cynthia
ou
from
ka
the
ale
Census
kaya kay
Office.
pou konte set lisi epi amase lot informasyon.
This is my ID. I'm an enumerator.
Lese enumerators la vini, yo kay do bonjou, epi wezon ki yo vini visite ou.
The interview should take around 20 to 40 minutes.
Osi yo kay ni an chemise vert, epi census kay ekouyan le chemise la. Yo kay ni an ID card ki di no yo ekouyan ley epi kote yo ka travay. Nou kamade ou pou koopare epi yo epi bayo informasyon ki yo kamade ou la. Informasyon bayo kay wete an confidence. Informasyon ba nou kay benefye ou epi komi nou. An nou konte set lisi.
And healing, judgment and heaping. Naya Bingi Forum live on Calabash TV. Just talking in studio with, actually via Zoom, with my beloved brother Prophet Akeem on the Rising of the Gods book. It's an essential tool to instruct man, the man, about how he lifts himself above his circumstance, above his challenges, above those things that have been put in his way as stumbling blocks, and to rise himself up into his full potential and to become, as he is, a divine being, a God in creation. So, the book is an essential tool. It assists in one's overstanding themselves. And so, Brother Akeem, prayerfully are with I again. Our technical challenges don't allow me to see you, but I can hear you if you're on. My brother.
Give thanks. I'm on.
Rastafari. Yeah, man, give thanks. So, Brother Akeem, we're talking about what is going to take place in the mountain, this place that you have become so intimate with. You have taken so many people across creation from every creed, race, and nationality. You're an integral part of the space. In that space, Brother Akeem, will converge a whole host of people from all over the world on July the 21st, 22nd. And from there forward, we will have 28 days. Talk a little bit about that in the context of the rising of the gods, my brother.
So I feel that was important, that we have this something that we thought about during that retreat, and we thought about how we could use our creative potential to do good on this earth. So during the 28 days, the different activations, the different events that will be happening, and the drumming that will be happening, and just the gathering of the spiritual energy that's going to be happening to raise that power within us, but to also raise that awareness. So we can understand.
Yeah, by the way, just for the audience, Brother Akeem, when they hear you say the drumming, I want them to know we're talking about the Nyabinghi drums. The Nyabinghi drums calls for a cessation of atrocities against African people, against poor people, against good people. So Nyabinghi, generally we say death to all oppressors. But we want to use language that don't intimidate people. We say a cessation or an ending of the atrocities and the oppressive kind of activities that have allowed some people to rise themselves, standing on the necks of our people. So yes, Brother Akeem, go forward, my brother.
Yeah, so that's a powerful coming together for the Nyabinghi drums to raise that awareness and to also bring forward justice and healing. And it's something where it's actually taking the steps and actually coming together and bringing people from all over the world together for this cause and for this purpose, to say that it's enough. Like, no more is going to be accepted, and there needs to be justice and healing, or judgment and heaping.
Rastafari.
But the matter of fact is that it's enough. The time has come. So I give thanks for the works that was put in to have this manifest, because it just shows the level of the seriousness that it takes to organize this, and just the organization that I've seen has been really well done, and it's just very clear. It looks beautiful and amazing to watch from here, and just the social media representation. And I just feel it's super important that this is something that the world knows about, and this is something that is not just look past and we just continue on with our life. So this is something super valuable, important, and I'm grateful, and like I have a lot of gratitude to be part of that initial Rising of the Gods retreat that helped lead to this initiative that's happening on July 21st to start off.
Give thanks, my brother. As I say, this evolution is being televised, is being watched by the world. And I want our St. Lucian family to know we have media coming in from all over the place. We have students coming from Baltimore, Maryland, from the Johns Hopkins University. We have the Nyabinghi family right here in St. Lucia, who will stand with the Bobo Shanti family right here in St. Lucia. We have the Non-Aligned, the Ethiopian World Federation, members of the 12 tribes of Israel. We have Jews, Gentiles, Catholic, Anglican, anyone who is good at heart, who believe, who know that justice must prevail first, who accepts that this is no longer tolerable for our people to continue in the state of ignorance and destitution, and who are prepared to, through their own sounds and actions, will activate goodness on earth and will present their own gifts to themselves and their families through restorative justice processes and even funding. We have to fund our own liberation, our own salvation. We can't sit down and wait on another savior, as politicians like to frame themselves as, and church leaders like to frame themselves as. We have to now recognize that, as Psalms 82 verse 6 says, I have said, ye are gods and children of the Most High. Let us then act as gods, rise ourselves up as gods, speak the words, as John 1:1 said, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word took on flesh and dwelt amongst man. Let us be the word of goodness then, and rise ourselves up. Yes? And I want to invite, this is an open invitation, you know. Brother Akeem, I know you're coming, you know, and you're bringing others. But I'm inviting the St. Lucian family, wherever you are, come. Ras Wayne says, come. Let him that heareth come. Let those who are thirsty for something new come and partake in the goodness of the collective energies of goodness. Let us produce from that. As you saw. So listen, Brother Akeem, many people don't know this, you know. But we created a book out of an experience in less than 6 months of working together, organizing together, yes, speaking our truth together. And although we have challenges, I accept we have had challenges, but when we had that intention to do, we were able to do because we were focused, we were intentional, and we activated our best talents. That's what our world needs today. So Brother Akeem, talk to us just a little bit in terms of summarizing what it is then that you would want to take from this experience. Maybe others have similar kind of takeaways. My Lord.
From that retreat, Rising of the Gods experience?
And coming even into the Justice and Healing 28 days.
So that is just the power of what happens when we come together, when we work together, and the power of that, and knowing that if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So that's the African proverb. So it's so much individualization in the world today, where we go, everyone's trying to be independent and do their own. But from this experience, it's a matter of what happens when we come together as gods. What are we capable of? What sort of impact can we make in this world? And in the introduction to the Rising of the Gods book, Right Honorable Priest Kailash speaks about when you rise into your God self, you're going to be going against the common practices in society. You're going to be going against the grain and what's normally accepted. So this is going to be a challenging process when you do that, but that's what's needed for us to rise into that God self. Truly. And that's when we come together outside of the norms of society, so we could bring forward something that is elite and next level and bring forward that healing.
I know, my brother Akeem, you are next level in the physical preparation and thing. And you have been talking about coming together. Well, about 100 years ago, our beloved Right Honorable Marcus Garvey said something about the condition of black people at that time. And it speaks true today. We're probably going to read this for the last time, because after the 28 days at Mount Kailash, where we bring the family together, we're hoping this will change. But then Marcus Garvey said, it is said to be a hard and difficult task to organize and keep together large numbers of black people for the common good. Many have tried to congregate us or to bring us together, but have failed. The reason being that our characteristics are such as to keep us apart than together. Which characteristic is that? Where it come from? Is it through our socialization? Negative socializations? Well, we're going to stop that. We're going to put a full stop to that, because we must work together. We can't keep talking about unity. We have to start act united. We have to stop talking about coming together and literally come together. We have to stop talking about differences and move to the next and the new. That is what the Jaja and I initiative is about. And therefore, the evil of internal division, which has wrecked our existence of the past, will no longer be part of the framing of our future. As Honorable Marcus Garvey says, if we do not seriously and quickly move in the direction of a readjustment, our doom becomes imminently conclusive. Let us not doom ourselves to another 500 years of negative reality. Let us change to the next and the new. Brother Akeem, I will give you an opportunity for some final thoughts, even as we talk about justice and healing. My brother.
Yes, give thanks. I just want to say, I'm grateful to be here speaking with you, and just to have met you, because we met for the first time during the Rising of the Gods retreat, and it happened as you didn't come for the retreat, but since then you've been in St. Lucia for the most part. So it just says to the mission, and it says to your dedication to the mission. And for me, it's an honor to be around the elders who are showing the way. So it's just like the Rising of the Gods retreat. It doesn't matter the age, and it's actually important that we get representation from all different ages, as we all have our own roles in this.
Truly.
So it's super important that we do. And if you are in St. Lucia, this is one of those things where you may not realize it just because it's in your backyard, but this is something that is worldwide recognized. And there are people from all around the world who would love the opportunity to fly into. And there's people who are actually going to be doing that as well. And a lot of who would love that opportunity, and who would love, I wish I was in St. Lucia. I wish I was in St. Lucia. So don't let this come by as just another event that's happening in the summertime. Really understand the importance and the power that this is going to have as we look and as we return and look at it, and we see that this happened in 2022 in St. Lucia.
Yes.
Right? This is going to be written in history. So I don't want it to be looked at, passed on as just, this is just another event. Let's understand the power of it. And especially if you're in St. Lucia, take that trip, make that happen, and go over there and really show up and really show the support and stand united.
Give thanks, my brother. Very well said. Perhaps if ones are seeing the screen, this is the flyer for the first 7 days of our 28 days of initiatives, of activities, of events. And it starts with the celebration, 13 decades or 130 years in the life of Emperor Haile Selassie I. This is a common join, I and I, not to observe, but to be part of, to elevate yourself spiritually and within the community, to collaborate, bring your energy to chant the words of life that we have not been able to chant for a while. Yes, so we're going to come together, Nyabingi, yes, and to share the love and to bring an end, a stop to oppressive actions against good people, especially Rastafari people. And as we do that, also we have created the platforms where young people can come. We're going to have a poetry competition specifically focused on emancipation, not in the context of celebration, but in the context of contemplation. We're going to think about what it really means to be free, emancipated, and how free people should act. What kind of responsibility we have to ourselves and our family, and indeed our nation state, St. Lucia, our region, the Caribbean, and of course, our world. And in that context, we're asking young people to join us at the Ubuntu Rastafari Cultural Center, where we have a bi-weekly poetry competition. So the next competition is not this Thursday, it is the Thursday after. Yes, where we ask you to come and express your spoken word. We also have the Royal Readers Book Club, because we have books, on African-centered realities. Books to teach ourselves about who we were, who we can be, and who we must become. And so we want to invite people. It was a beautiful start last Thursday, or the Thursday before rather. So we're looking forward to ones coming forward and joining I at the book club this Thursday coming. And so we have multiple events and we want people to be part of it. And remember, July 22nd through August 17th, I ongoing projects will reflect the reality of justice, healing, and the restoration of good humanity. That is it for this evening. Ras Hakeem, Prophet Hakeem, we love you, my brother. Thank you for representing well and doing good, and for the work that you have been doing to bring people into St. Lucia, into the reality of what St. Lucia offers, healing. Now, to add to the healing, St. Lucia can be the example for Caribbean justice, for atrocities against our people. Let us engage, family, and let us show the world what we really can do when we come together with the intention of goodness. I am your host, Ras Dr. Wayne Rose, signing forward for this strong and asking you to join us again next Monday, where we have conversations on justice and healing. And be prepared to come up to Mount Kailash, where we're going to chant Nyabingi. One perfect love, family. Give thanks. Blessings.